Okay. So I am back. I just went live a minute ago to answer a different question, and now I'm going to do a new question. Hopefully I didn't delete that question. I haven't been live in a while. I actually haven't been able to go live because of the number of followers I have. So I'm going to do another question. So this question also came from Instagram. I do occasionally have people message me on Instagram asking for advice, and I have no problem messaging advice. I would love to help everybody. I figured I would answer these questions live so that I usually get most of the same questions, to be honest. This one's about being more confident. And I get this question a lot. How can I be more confident? So this question says, my coaches have said my biggest fault is that I lack confidence in my abilities. How do I find that confidence when it feels like every coxswain is better than me? How did you find your confidence coxing? Again, I actually get this question a lot. A lot of coxswains wonder how to be confident, especially when they are novice or, maybe second years. How do you be confident if you aren't confident, right? Short answer is fake it till you make it. That's it. You don't even need to watch the rest of the video. That is kind of just true. If the thing, when coaches tell you to be confident, here's the thing, they usually mean a bunch of other things. And because coaches are rarely coxswains, they don't know what those other things are. And they say confident, but what they mean is be decisive, be loud, be authoritative, be rational, be calm, be I don't know. I had another one. I lost it. And they mean all these other things, but they are like, yeah, just be confident. I'm like, how do I be confident? And the thing is, you have to display those different things. You have to address those different things that the coach is telling you to do. Being decisive is probably the biggest one that I attribute to confidence. Because if you are indecisive, what that portrays to rowers is that you don't know what you're doing, you're unsure of yourself, and they should question you too. Because if you're not sure, why should they be sure? So you need to be confident in your commands and what you're asking rowers to do. Being decisive. How do you make yourself more decisive when you're not decisive? My advice that I don't remember when I started giving this to coxswains. I think I started coaching coxswains a couple years ago. Ultimately, your job, I'm going to release a bunch of pressure from you. Your job is not to be right. And everybody thinks it's a coxswain's job to be right. And it's not. I don't think it's the coxswain's job to be right. It is the coxswain's job to make a decision and have everybody else do that thing. As long as it is not going to cause a problem, like your job is to get everybody else to do one thing together. Your job isn't to be right. Your job isn't to be the most efficient or most effective. Yeah, be as efficient as possible, but usually there's like 8 different ways to do one thing, and coxswains are in their head going, oh my God, do I do this? Do I do this? Should I go to the left and then do that? Should I steer this way? Should I power down? Should I do this? They're all right. All of them are right. There might be a best way, but that's all opinion, right? And your rowers are going to be sitting there with opinions. Your coaches, the other coxswains, everyone's going to have an opinion on what to do. Your job is just to make a decision. Just pick one. Just pick one, and as long as it's not the most wrong, like crash into a buoy wrong, it's going to be the right decision. So ultimately, if you are steering and you don't realize that you're pointed right at a buoy, been there, done that, everybody has, and suddenly you realize you're pointed right at a buoy, and you have about 20 meters. That's 2 strokes. Maybe 10 meters, 1 stroke. To figure out what to do. Your job isn't to decide the most correct course of action, which might be, well, gosh, should I stay to the right side of the traffic pattern? Or should I go around the buoy, which around the buoy would be the opposite side of the traffic pattern, but then but I would miss the buoy. Or should I come to a stop? But if I come to a stop, I might hit the buoy. Like, all of these things are rushing through your mind and you freeze, right? Even if you have like 100 meters, I've seen coxswains do this, I've done this, and you've got so much time to figure out what to do and you just freeze because you can't figure out what to say. Just make a decision. Seriously, just make a decision. It doesn't matter. Technically, going to port, going the wrong side of the traffic pattern on the wrong side of the buoy, it's not the most right decision, but it's not the least wrong decision, and therefore it is the correct decision. Just do it. It doesn't matter. Steer that way. Everyone will be happy you didn't hit the buoy. Do that. Make the decision. If you need to stop, stop. If you need to go to, whatever it is, your job is to make a decision and make sure that everybody does that. Because if you don't make a decision, you crash head on into a buoy. So ultimately, if that relieves some pressure from you, that your job isn't to be right, your job is to make a decision, that can help you with being confident, being decisive. Be decisive. Just make a decision. It doesn't have to be the best decision. And hopefully, the longer you are a coxswain, you will get to the point where your quick decision happens to be the best, most efficient decision. But if you're at a point where you're very not confident in your abilities, your job is just to make a decision and make sure everybody else does it and that no harm comes to the boat or your rowers. Other things that confident might mean is just loud. Just be louder. A lot of times people are not confident, so they whisper or you yell, but you're yelling like only the person in front of you can hear you. Just be louder. That's pretty easy. I guess it's hard to be loud, but it's a pretty easy fix if you think about it. I always tell people to try to get your voice as low as possible, right? And it's like yelling, but really low yelling. And just think, you don't realize it, but the person in the very back of the boat, they have 7 people in front of them blocking your voice projection. They can't hear you. And there's the sound of the waves and the oarlocks and all that. You're trying to reach that person in the back, and it's a lot louder than you think it needs to be. You're being as loud as you can. You're probably making it 3 to 4 seats away. If you're facing them in an 8. If you're in a 4, they're behind you. You're making it maybe 1 seat. What else? Be decisive, louder, authoritative. That's going to be, that's a tough one. Being authoritative, that's going to be kind of demanding respect. Demanding respect is hard. I think there's a very fine line between demanding respect when you've earned it and demanding respect when you don't deserve it. And I think that's really difficult for new coxswains because you do have to be a little bit humble and realize that you are going to make mistakes and you're going to be wrong, and you need to be willing to learn and receive feedback. That's not just new coxswains. I've known coxswains who have been doing it for 3 years and they just thought they were the greatest coxswain in the world, and they were not. They were unwilling to hear feedback, and it hindered them. So demanding respect and deserving respect, doesn't mean that you can't be wrong and that you can't take criticism and feedback. But it does mean that you run a ship well and you are in charge. And I make a very firm point to my rowers is that when we are on the water, I'm in charge. And you need to listen to what I say. And you want to have that authority and just be logical. Don't yell at people just for the sake of like being in charge. But if it's, hey, if you have feedback for me, please let me know on land. On the water, we cannot afford for you guys to be yelling because I don't know if you're just yelling at me because you're angry, if you're trying to talk to each other for fun, or if we're going to hit something. And I want to be able to assume that if I hear yelling, I need to come to a full stop because we're going to hit something. Otherwise, when you yell and we're going to hit something, I'm going to think you're just talking or angry. So that's kind of the vibe that when you say demanding respect and like don't talk in my boat, there's a reason for it. It's not just because you're being a hard ass. Like, hey, sometimes the reason might just be that we need to focus. But, to me, the biggest reason that I want to communicate to my rowers logically and calmly is, guys, when you talk in the boat and you yell, I'm going to think it's because we're going to hit something. So you have to develop a bit of an authority to say something once and mean it, right? Kind of like training a dog. You don't say something over and over and over again because they don't listen. It's got to be like, hey, quiet in my boat, right? Let's see. I don't know if there's other things that I'm thinking of confidence-wise. I think being loud, authoritative, and decisive are kind of the biggest things that usually your coach is going to mean when they say be more confident. And again, first thing I said is fake it till you make it. Just fake it. Pretend you know what you're doing, because if a rower doesn't believe that you know what you're doing, even if you don't, if they don't believe it, they're not going to trust you. And if they don't trust you, they're going to be looking behind them to see, are we going to hit a buoy? Are, when you say, hey, we're going to do this or switch pairs, they're going to be like, are we really switching? You don't want them thinking. You just don't want them thinking. They shouldn't be thinking any of it. They shouldn't be thinking. They shouldn't be counting strokes. They shouldn't be questioning things. So sound like you mean it, even if you're wrong. Like, even if you accidentally counted 20 strokes instead of 10, or I don't know, you misheard the instructions and then just switch. And like, yeah, you can be a little humble and realize you were wrong, but just sound like you mean it. Fake it till you make it. Until you actually are confident and you actually know what you're doing. At least it gives the rowers some semblance of structure. And that's the important thing, is that structure, that they know what's going on because they believe you know what's going on. That's all I have. Again, if you have questions, you can comment them or DM me on my Instagram. I do respond to questions a little better on my Instagram. I do try to respond to them here as well. But I don't know, Instagram gives me a lot more time and space to see and respond to them. So thank you for tuning in and good luck. And I hope everything is going well with your coxing in your club during this weird time in the world. Have a great one, guys.